man. It has been a long week, Jamie.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's been an amazing week. I can't believe we found time to spray paint the wall.
I can't believe how good this has been for my cardio.
Yeah, I know, really.
Bye, Anthony.
Hey, I think I should buy some more clothes.
I think you should too.
Yeah. I keep wearing the same shirt every time.
You got a nice tie in the back, though. Let's put that on before you get it. Come on, let's go.
Done.
All right. Hello and welcome to Talk Heathen.
Woo! Yep.
All right.
All right. This is going to be an amazing episode.
It
is Season 3, Episode 12.
It's March 24th, 2019. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Jamie Boone.
And
hey, there's some significance to that date.
Today?
Yeah.
What's the significance to today's date?
The significance to today's date is that yesterday was the first International Atheist Day.
Oh, my
What's
God.
up?
We have an amazing live studio audience today.
Yes, we do.
Packed.
And I think at least half/all of them were there yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of friendly faces, a lot of amazing
yeah.
people that I'm excited to see after the show, too, and talk to.
Yep.
Dude, yesterday was incredible. You emceed the event, and the speakers were awesome. The turnout was awesome.
Yes.
What was amazing was we were kind of worried because the weather report said that it was going to rain. There was a possibility of thunderstorms, and not a drop of rain. And then our very last speaker
was Seth
Andrews.
I said it then, and I'll say it now. I don't believe in miracles, but
During his speech.
No, the moment he began to speak,
Oh.
the clouds parted and the sun shone upon his face.
Yeah,
and
the
our
sun just
ears
broke
were
through the
graced
clouds.
with his melodious voice.
It was fantastic. I can't wait to do it again next year, man.
May his words raise us to blah, blah, blah.
Okay, now I'm uncomfortable.
So what I will say is that this, despite being actually at least half of this being planned, the amount of planning and work that has gone into this is immense. The volunteers and employees that are here are fantastic, incredibly hardworking.
Immense. They're the best volunteers.
Okay, that is my title, so I've been told to, scale it back on the Trump impressions. But I couldn't be happier with them. I couldn't be happier as president of this organization. And you know what? To be quite honest, as arrogant as it might sound, I couldn't be happier with myself. And
you really killed it,
I feel
man.
like I have nothing to prove, and I'm going to take my jacket off.
Oh, shit.
Something
All right.
that I don't do,
Yeah.
even when it's too effing hot outside to wear a jacket.
You earned it. You earned it. All right.
Chill out.
I did a speech there too.
Yes, you
all right.
did.
It was okay.
Yeah, you tried to make me cry.
A couple people cried. It was nice. We should put up the video in the next
Yeah, Vern is working on it right now.
And so is Mark.
Yeah.
So all right.
If you've never thought about, hey, how do they sound on Talk Heathen, and it's always just sounded like we're talking straight to you, that's because we have the greatest sound engineer ever.
Yeah, and engineers plural. Silas is on sound today.
Yes, Silas is on sound today.
Phenomenal.
It's
there. They are in the back. Mark is on the left.
Woo!
He's our producer. Silas is on the right. He is engineering the audio. They are amazing.
Yes.
All right. Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. Let's take our first one.
Well, first, I want to announce that we're going to be live at the American Atheist Convention in Cincinnati.
Yes, we are.
If you get the chance to come out, if you can come and see us. The tickets are split up so that they're affordable, and we would both really love to meet you. So come on out. Let's see. The magazine is up for this month, and I know it's getting toward the end of the month.
That's up.
Yes, it's actually really well. All the issues are really good. The volunteers who do that, led by Chris, that's phenomenal. So if you haven't signed up for our magazine, definitely check it out.
Is it too pity to say the volunteers that do that are incredible?
They are incredible.
Okay, cool.
They are incredible.
Stickler for grammar.
Also, in personal news, I'm going to be doing my very first debate at Rogers University in Oklahoma on May 2nd.
You are.
And they changed out who I'm going to be debating. So I'm going to be debating David Wood.
Yes.
So
and
if people know who David Wood is, it's going to be interesting. So I'm really excited about it.
It's your first formal debate, and they're trying to swap it out and bring in a ringer. But I I think you'll do. I think you'll do all right.
Well, thank you, brother. Yeah. Well, I think we should start off with a little bit of contention. We have our first caller has said that this is the last time they're calling in.
Aww.
And I know we've had a bit of a roller coaster with this person. So let's start out with the last appearance from Rob in Long Island. Rob, you're talking to Eric and Jamie. How are you doing today?
How you doing, Mr. Murphy? How you doing, Mr. Boone?
Hey, brother.
I feel marvelous and all but invincible.
It has been an amazing weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's beautiful here, too.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. So, Rob, you said this is going to be the last time that you call in. You have one more topic that you want to share?
Yeah. We went through all the teachings to give you, all the miracles.
That we talked about there's no evidence for.
Yeah, a question.
Yeah,
when did you, in your life, as I assume you were both Christians at one time, when did you stop believing in the miracles? Was it you never believed in them, or at some point? And I'm really talking basically, more toward the New Testament than the Old Testament.
Yeah. So what I will say is that the miracles were never a significant portion of my faith or my relationship with God or my church activities. So I didn't really think about them, and then when I deconverted, I definitely didn't believe them. So I suppose then.
Yeah, for me.
How about you, Mr. Murphy?
Well, I really walked away from religion in my early 20s, but it took a long time. And at first, I thought there was no reason for me not to think that miracles happened, because everywhere I went, everyone I spoke to in my church, they all said that miracles happened. But I kind of had these questions about how come they would happen sometimes and not others. And then eventually I thought, well, maybe I'm just in the wrong church. Maybe miracles happen elsewhere. And I wound up leaving the church, but I didn't stop believing. I just thought that, I hadn't found the right one. But over time, through investigation and really looking into it, I came to the conclusion that there's no evidence to support there ever having been any miracles. And so at that point, I put it down and I moved on.
Okay. It seemed, well, Mr. Boone, you never believed in the miracles, and Mr. Murphy, you gradually lost belief in the miracles.
Well, I'm not sure that saying I never believed in them is fair. It's just I didn't critically examine them immensely. So, for example, there's stories in the Old Testament and stories in the New Testament that I didn't think about a lot when I had faith, because my faith wasn't based on knowing every passage or story in the Bible. And so, to me, because the miracles were described as happening, and because I was raised in a faith that wasn't telling me, oh, and you will be able to do this in your daily life, expect miracles, the fact that, I would have said the fact that there have been miracles doesn't really affect, it didn't affect the faith that I had.
Sure. And I would also say that it might be a small point of difference, but you said that I lost my belief. I didn't lose anything. I gained more information, and gaining that additional information is what informed me on what happened better.
Yeah, Mr. Boone, excuse me, Mr. Murphy, I feel the same way. Knock and ye shall, knock and it'll be answered. Same in way as you do. You knocked with a question. I prayed on it, and the answer came back. But you have to remember, that was over 30 years of gathering information. Your group just happened to come along at the right time. So actually, it's just going through old dissertations of what the Bible was about in the book of Revelation, in my case.
Why would you go about it that way? I mean, it feels like, that appears to me to be the exact definition of a confirmation bias. Looking for specifically what you want to find the answers for, and, hand-picking whatever information backs up your conclusion. That, other people don't do that. Scientists don't do that. I try not to do that in my everyday life. Most of the people that I meet and spend time around, we want to know what's true instead of trying to back up what we already think is true.
Mr. Murphy, I have an assumption that you don't think I have any outside knowledge of anything else but this. And like anything else in life, you have to be a master of a few things.
I don't think that you... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Boone. And like if you look into the book of Revelations, the scrolls are there. I was allowed to open them just for this specific reason in time and history where faith and social society is having a lot of problems. You know, I'm reading a book right now. Do you know, have you ever heard of, where is she? Madeline Levine, The Price of Privilege? Yeah. How parental pressure and material advantage are creating a generation of disconnected and unhappy kids. When I grew up, children weren't cutting. Nobody was cutting themselves. This is a phenomenon that's occurred in the last...
Rob, that's actually factually untrue.
Yeah.
What?
It's a bit like saying, oh, there was less domestic violence in the 50s. No, there was less reports of domestic violence, and I'm willing to say, that. And I'm willing to say, oh, yeah, you heard about it less, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Yeah, tracking through the history of mental health.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Mr. Boone, I just finished a book called I Never Made It by Jackie Robinson. He was the first black Major League baseball player. Are you aware of it? You know how many churches in that book supported the civil rights movement?
Who cares?
I don't see one word that says the atheistic group of New Jersey.
Oh, hold on, Rob.
Anything.
This goes back to your first call. No, this goes back to your first call when I said, hey, if I do good things for people, that means that I am God, right?
All right. Okay. We finally reached to the point,
right?
Mr. Boone, Mr. Murphy. We could tie everything in. That's good,
Rob.
Where you say you are God.
No,
that
Rob.
Works. That works.
No.
Are
you selectively listening? I'll say it again.
No.
Okay. I'll say it again then. If I do good things for people, according to the logic you just gave me, then I could assert whatever religious or whatever idea I want, and that would make it more true, right? You gave evidence and said, hey, I have evidence of churches helping with, in the past when it came to discrimination, right? So I can protect people against discrimination, which I work very hard to do. And if I'm using your logic, then I can state whatever I want, and it would be true as well. Do you get that?
Yes, I do.
So why are you using that logic? No, hold on. It drives me nuts.
Mr. Murphy, I'm using scientific
analysis. That is... You don't get to use that word. That is our word.
No,
hold on.
It's God's word, too.
Okay.
God's word.
Okay.
It just couldn't be used the thousands of years ago because the level of our knowledge wasn't there yet.
So
do you understand that principle?
There's so many responses to give right now. One being that if God was guiding humans, then that's where he was guiding them to. But to your statement about, how many atheist groups were there supporting the civil rights movement, look at how many churches supported the civil rights movement. Let's not forget that the KKK is a religious organization, and let's not forget that religious organizations opposed the civil rights movement, and let's not forget that the entire basis for the reasons for secession for the Confederacy were religious and related to slavery, and that tradition has continued since then. It's diminished.
Mr. Boone, I would like to move
humankind and good. I know that you would like to steer away from it, and I'm willing to have that be the last word said on it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, we can't call it a draw because, once again, you told me that the tools I used of history weren't proficient, but yours academically seemed to be. But we'll stay away from there. Once again, scientific analysis. Everything that God put in the Bible that we weren't supposed to do was for a reason that it's in our genetic makeup.
You've called about that as well. And in that call,
so we talked about the differences. Whole theory of
No.
Excuse me, Mr. Murphy. We took away the word morality because it seems like such a big debate with you guys.
No,
I mean, I actually heard, Mr. Murphy, I heard somebody trying to debate, is rape a morality on your show?
What?
I listened intently, but just the point that the whole debate came out, I had a laugh.
Well, that's good.
Is that where the psychodynamics of conversation is?
No, Rob.
Once again, we're talking about scientific analysis.
I don't. Hold on, Rob. No, we're going to stop here.
Yeah.
Because you threw some flack out, and we're not going to let you just throw shit out everywhere and then us not talk about it, right? So the last time when you called about that topic, we went over and actually gave you our best definitions and went over what ethics and morality are, how we can trace it back to our genetics, how our society grows and how it benefits by propping things up, how we empathize on a physiological level. And then the fact is, we actually gave evidence. All you have done is said, yeah, no, but it's not true. Or you've said, no, I don't like it enough. This is what I like. But you actually haven't given any supporting evidence for yours. All you've done is tear down what you think are problems in ours. And, the fact is, Rob, I'm not here to tell you that I have absolute knowledge about a thing. I don't. I'm learning, and I'm always open to learning more because I want to learn more. But it feels like what you're doing here is you're taking that as weakness. That's strength, Rob. When you want to know more about the world and you're willing to have the humility to say, I don't know, that's when you move forward. So why do you keep portraying that as weakness?
Excuse me, Mr. Murphy. Sometimes in history, as you all know, things move forward in the right direction. Did you research complex separation anxiety disorder, which causes borderline personality disorders?
Okay.
Since we talked last.
So BPD is a complex issue that is not summed up in that response, and it's one that I would say I am absolutely unqualified to talk about, and I would say you should. Why do I keep saying I would say? It's a bad habit that I've picked up. You should talk to a psychologist. You should talk to a psychiatrist. You should go to a university and look those things up because that is overly simplistic. I took a psychology course.
That's nice. That's a good beginning because taking a psychology course will help you understand, the fundamentals and the jargon, and that can be the very beginning of having a basic, a sufficient basic understanding to begin, a period of research and understanding where you talk to multiple qualified scholars and read countless, endless dozens, scores even, of papers on the modern research and the history of it. What I will say is the thing that you're bringing up is also not summarized in the Bible, so I'm not sure how it's relevant to claims of God.
Well, Jimmy, did you see? Hold on. I just want to really quick.
Murphy, I'll repeat once again.
No, Rob, I want you to come. I want you to repeat. I just want to say that Chef Asbury just donated $99.99. Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell Chef I'm working on my third million.
Not proven.
Okay. I would say
working on my third million.
All right, cool. What I will say is that Chef said, 100% miracles not proven either, and I hate to be that guy, but 100% claims of monetary value not proven either.
Excuse me, Mr. Boone, I'm not going to go back to the miracles. That's a matter of faith. You shouldn't. It's
Agreed.
not. I also heard anybody in one of the titles was, if you believe, I guess it was in miracles, does that show immorality? That was a weird statement, if you ask me.
Oh, what context was it in?
On your show, I was like, where the heck did that come from? Who thinks that way?
Yeah. Did you watch what was said about that portion and remember what we were talking about at the time?
Yeah, I did. I might have signed off that I'd listen to it, but, just the title itself, I was like, why?
Hey,
why take away from somebody's imagination? And
I'm fine with people's imagination, but when people believe anything that they imagine, there's a problem.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, we have to go back to scientific analysis now, because according, what the teachings of
Rob, you haven't given any scientific anything yet. I'm losing confidence in your ability to tell me anything scientific.
Excuse me, Mr. Murphy, you do not know what a criminal mind is.
Mr. Rob in Long Island, you are not using science. You're saying it, and it's that word. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Yeah. I don't think it means what you think.
Mr. Murphy, science is science. If you go against your physiology in actions, in deeds, and you change your nervous system in specific ways that cause a disorder, that's science. That's psychology.
You know what? I think
upon.
I think I can actually agree on you on this point. So what you're saying is that people shouldn't be electrocuted so that they change their natural inclinations about their sexual partners?
Look, Mr.
Because that would be changing their natural physiology.
I was given the information a long time ago, and believe me, I used to walk around and say gay is here to stay. I'm not a hard man, and I know the switch is an internal switch that at a young age you could, as a man, you could think yourself as a woman. As a woman, you could think of yourself as a man. I knew about that switch a long time ago.
I'm going to mute myself, Jimmy. You go right ahead.
Oh, so you've left me alone. All right. I also believe that sexual orientation and gender identity are psychological factors determined by the brain and its resulting processes, which we call the mind.
I'll agree with that.
I'm also happy to avoid the details of that in this particular phone call.
Yeah.
I understand it's a personal thing, Mr. Boone. I have a lot of friends.
I'm just saying, as much as someone asks me my gender identity, which I don't personally place that much importance on, I would answer that I am a man. And, you know, depending on how well you play your cards, you might be able to do an analysis of my physiology and to whether or not to confirm that's correct. Or a person might. I don't think we've got a chance.
No, it's not. It's not necessary. In the portrayal that you've had against legitimizing that the church has been a bad institution is how they've harmed the gay community through the centuries. And we are now at present day, and all I can quote you is a philosophy that what good are laws without judges? And what good are judges without police?
Do you think
we need a complete justice system? Yeah, I agree.
Do you think we don't have judges?
Centuries ago, it wouldn't matter if God had intervened and said, "No, don't think about being gay. Don't go that way." You still would have had a secular community that would have harassed you.
Wait.
And
wow.
Hold on. Let Jimmy talk.
So what you're saying is the reason that people that are opposed to LGBTQ rights, you're saying that the reason that they're opposed is dependent on a God? Or you're saying, no, whether or not God affects human minds, this is the way that humans would behave?
Yes.
Okay, so to be clear, are there humans that are not affected by God?
I've been hit on by gay men.
You know, I hope that no one has been more aggressive than you're comfortable with. But the question that I'm asking is,
it's not intimacy at all. It's an aggressive one-night stand.
I'm sorry. I'm willing to discuss.
I love that he's open, though. You know,
it's good that you're open. I'm willing to discuss the more positive and negative aspects of love and encounters in clubs and bars, etc. I'm not sure that this show is the correct format, but if you come to Austin,
it's not, and because it's not, I'm just telling you, I have friends that are gay. I meet people that are gay on a regular basis.
Me too.
But to be upfront about sexuality, it goes against our physiology once again. We are
in the same way.
Rob, Mr. Boone, can I finish?
No, this is Eric talking.
Butterfly, right?
This is Eric talking. Rob, this is Eric talking. Hi.
Yeah, Eric.
Hey, so we couple not just because we want to reproduce. If that was true, then it would also be true that people who are infertile would be against their. Do you see that there are so many examples that would prove that point is not true? And on top of that, I mean, so I'm a heterosexual male. And we're lacking representation. But
sorry,
I'm a heterosexual male, and yet I am actively choosing not to reproduce. I want to adopt, and that way,
that's a nice thing.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Not talking about the reproduction.
Okay, so then what are you talking about?
About sexuality. when we're talking about intimacy, and Mr. Murphy, I'm going to say, you used to call me a butterfly. Mankind and womankind are like butterflies. We are the most distinct species out there. Physiologically, we have a lot of all our characteristics are there when we were conceived, and that is not going to change because of social changing. It's not going to change.
So what you're saying is, if you were to learn that there were a genetic component or a natural component to homosexuality or same-sex coupling, you would then accept that, no, it shouldn't be tried, we shouldn't try and change it given that it's natural? If you were to learn that that was natural, would that be a conclusion that you come to?
I'm sorry, Mr. Boone, I did say it was natural. I was giving you the explanation that because it is a switch, it's a mental switch as much as a physical. You switch mentally when you're young, that idea and thought, it becomes a physiology. But I'm also adding it, the reason that text was put in there was to keep people away from the practice, because no matter how hard you tried in society, especially thousands of years ago, you would have been persecuted worse.
There are ancient societies that were accepting of same-sex couples. There are many Native American societies that were accepting of same-sex couples as well. It's interesting that you point to the fact that there was an ancient society that had this particular fault that they got and enforced through their theology. And I would say, yeah, their theology definitely contributed to this stoning of people based on whom they had sex with consensually. And I think that's wrong. But when you talk about, oh, it's a switch, I would probably describe it more as a spectrum, and that human interactions and intimacy and sexuality are very complicated. And trying to summarize them as, oh, there's definitely a black and white binary for this and a binary for that, and God has told me the correct answer, and I'm going to enforce that on other people's lives, either socially or through legislation or in some other way that I happen not to have mentioned or thought of in this particular moment, I think would be wrong and oppressive and trending authoritarian in a way that's entirely uncomfortable for human beings that want to be free.
Mr. Murphy, I will
the softest critique I can offer.
I will insist that everything, that the morality of the Bible, and the word morality was never used in the Bible one time.
Yeah, you talked about
the English
that on
language was never used in the Bible.
It feels like this is like a best of, kind of clip episode, bringing all these different things up.
I mean, if this is really his last call, that might...
Well, yeah, so kind of wrapping through, though. You said, hold on, Rob. You said that it was a good thing for discrimination against gay people so that it would protect them from getting killed. How do you think gay people... do you think a gay person and a gay person get together and have a gay baby and then it just moves that way? Like, how does that even work?
Mr. Boone,
this is Eric.
A couple of friends,
it's okay.
Mr. Murphy, the couple of friends that I have that were gay, you don't want to hear how their story started. It's not a pretty one.
No, because we live in a society where people rely on religion.
You know what's interesting? I like that it's going to be much easier for us to do research now, because now that we know that 2 people is a sufficient random statistical sample, it'll be easy for us to do all kinds of accurate studies on everything.
Snarky.
Yep.
No, so
Rob,
the
snark begins.
Rob.
Mr. Murphy,
Rob,
or was it Mr. Boone? The butterfly, the butterfly.
Yeah. Rob, my beautiful butterfly, you have spread your wings.
Genetic disposition.
And here's the deal, man.
Society, morality can't change it.
You've opened up and you've shown us that not only do you only care about reinforcing the things that you already hold true, not only have you shown that you think that things like science are things that you're doing if you just say scientifically, but I think the most damning evidence, the most damning thing, is that across all of these calls, you have waited your turn to talk in talking to people, in talking to us, we've been open, listening, wanting to engage and understand and grow and learn. And through this entire process, you've shown that you've not only been unwilling, but it almost appears unable. And I hope that that's not true, because I need to have that hope for society, that we can all be open to willing to learn and grow together. And we've gotten calls about you. We've gotten messages, emails about you, people saying, well, you're never going to convince this person. And the reason, Rob, that we let you on is because you, in a nutshell, are a representation of a lot of people that I went to church with, right? Talking to you is a catharsis. It's an example of how non-religious people can put up with the ignorance that's displayed by people like you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. So, Rob,
you just insulted me for like 30 seconds. I appreciate that, Mr. Murphy.
So, Jamie, is there anything else before we close this out?
But hold
on a second. He's on.
Hold on, Rob. You're on hold. There was a point that I had, and then we started talking about.
Yeah. We get off topic with
gay not being okay. I'm willing to take another swing and hear how the genetic and natural tendencies of butterflies necessarily reflect on the genetic and natural tendencies.
We have a lot of other great callers,
beings.
though.
Yeah, we do.
We've been on this for a while. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, hey, can we get him?
Yeah, let's get him back on. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob. So the call screener's description says that you were wanting to talk about how the Holy Bible is critical proof of scientific analysis. Is that because what you're saying is that Old Testament law is based on natural human tendency?
Physiology.
Or natural human physiology.
Genetics.
Okay.
DNA,
so to be very clear, do you so the research is expanding, and I'm not actually sure where they are on establishing consensus yet. Sorry to the audience if you heard that.
Super gross.
That's all right.
Okay, chill, hon. All right. I'm not sure exactly how hard the evidence on there, but there appears strong evidence that there's a strong genetic tendency for lack of a better term, homosexual behavior. Is that a premise that you're willing to accept?
Yes, Mr. Boone.
Okay, so
I
why
want to stay away from homosexuality because it's not an issue with me. We're talking about one partner for life. Children moving away from their parents, not respecting the parents. All these laws in the Bible,
to be clear,
that were put in there were because our physiology was already completely made. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. The list goes on.
Yes, I believe that the laws
that required those laws to be passed down in terms. I'm sorry, Mr. Boone. In terms that we could only understand those thousands of years ago.
Sure, without a process of examining the world, which we could have used thousands of years ago, or at least humans could have used thousands of years ago, they found recourse to theology and religious tradition. And yes, I think that a society that created laws and couched them in religious tradition would create those laws around their society, which relates to human behavior. I don't see a God there, but my question is, do you think that there's any reasonable justification or reason for the prohibition of, well, here, we'll say this. You've said, oh, no, it's not about homosexual behavior. It's about pairing for life. Do you believe that gay people cannot feel love for life?
I didn't know.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that before the call.
That's fantastic. Okay, yeah. I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
Sorry, Mr. Murphy, but the final thing is...
No, we actually get the final word. You don't. So, Rob, my beautiful butterfly.
You should tell him he's on hold.
Oh, sorry, Rob, you're on hold.
Real quick, yeah.
We got another thing in the live chat. This isn't about convincing Rob. It's about creating an example. It's about having that argument because not everybody's willing, able, or is in a place where they can have that argument. So listening to that being done is the point of the call. So obviously we're not going to convince Rob. That said, hey, Rob.
Yes, Mr. Murphy.
I know that you said that I belittled you and shamed you, and I hope that when evidence fails, that when rational conversation appears not to get there, maybe, just maybe, we can shame you into it. That's why I did it. And I really, really hope it works. Anyway,
I'm not
take
trying
care.
to shame
Goodbye.
Mr. Murphy.
Okay.
And I'm glad you weren't trying to shame him, because he feels no shame, and neither do I, and neither should anyone else who is contemplating their sexuality or has come to a conclusion that they are in love with or attracted to people of whatever sex or gender. I'm also glad that I got to clarify that last point, because I thought he was about to say, well, no, homosexuality can't produce intimacy, and then I was going to...
No.
Because I'm a very calm person, but eventually you can find a way to get me to...
And he has in the past. You know, that was the last time we're going to be having Rob on this show.
Well, he said it was the last time he was going to call. So.
But he might change his mind. It's the last time we're going to have him on this show. And
but what if he wants to talk about the
I don't care.
Okay.
The reason is that there are so many people who would go out of their way to try and reach these wild justifications. And unless we're willing to stand up and talk about it, unless we're willing to say, no, that's enough, unless we're willing to communicate and share and be exemplars of what and how we need to reason to get to know the world to the best of our ability, it's not going to happen. So we need to stand up. We need to do it. We need to have those conversations. And if you're not ready, if you don't know how it's going to go, hopefully this is an example, right? So that's okay. But goodbye, Rob. Goodbye. And shame. Shame on you. Shame on you for trying to co-opt years, generations of human progress. Shame on you for trying to wrap up entire groups of people in just a tiny little box so that you can pass judgment on them. Shame on you for thinking that you can come up with what history is when there's actual work to be done. We start by saying, I don't know, and that's how we get there. And shame on you for trying to say otherwise.
Yeah.
All right.
And I do my best to avoid stereotypes, but people and their sexualities come in all shapes and all sizes of boxes. It's just that some of them have more fabulous wrapping.
With that said, let's move on to Grant in Mississippi. Grant,
yes.
You're talking to Eric and Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. What did you want to talk about?
What did you want to talk about?
Well, I had a thought a few weeks ago, and I kept forgetting to call in, but I am here now. So my question is, or I don't know if it's really in the form of a question, but at the end of every single one of your shows, you say, we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong.
Yes.
And
he does.
I do very much like that. It's a very succinct way of saying...
Holy crap, we got a $100 donation.
Awesome.
Travis Thompson, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I apologize, Grant. When those kinds of numbers pop up, it blows my mind. I apologize. Yes, I say I don't hate you. We don't hate you. We think you're wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah. For me, it sounds eerily similar to love the sinner, hate the sin.
Did you bring this up on the Talk Heathen Reddit?
No.
Oh, okay. Because there's a post about it there as well. But I think as long as Eric's happy to, we can discuss it here. r/Talk Heathen.
And I know that there's a lot of I hear people say that the phrase "love the sinner, hate the sin" is a terrible idea. But for me, it sounds so similar to your end of show saying, and I just kind of wanted to know where you.
Sure.
Why?
Absolutely.
It's different.
Actually, when you write it down, you'll see that it means the exact opposite of it. Right?
Okay.
Because the first is a justification of hate. Right? Oh, we love this person, but we hate the sin. You know.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
When I say we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. We're not passing judgment on their conclusion, but what we're doing is saying, hey, number one, the most important thing is affirming the other person's humanity, right? And you could say that with love the sinner, but I feel like that adds a justification or a condition onto it, right? And then hate the sin, right? That's a specific call to action. When we say we just think you're wrong, what we want to do is we want to invite them to come in and have that discourse and have that communication. And when we're not wanting to isolate ourselves away, and that's kind of what I get when I hear hate the sin. And I know that it might just be pedantic and someone can have a different conclusion, but hopefully maybe explaining what I mean by it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I was going to go is, sure, linguistically and in its framework, there's some parallel elements. It's certainly a parallel way of communicating distinct ideas. And it's interesting because they're both an attempt to separate the source of an issue from the person. It's just that one of them, I think, fails in practice and the other one does not. So the key is hate. So not everyone that says those words means exactly the same thing, and not everyone that says those words does exactly the same thing. And yes, love the sinner, hate the sin is a call to action. And we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong, should also be a call to action. So I invite conversation. Thinking you are wrong starts a conversation. Hate the sin is an invitation to theocracy and social enforcement of ideas that shouldn't occur. And it's certainly an invitation to those without a discussion or without critical analysis.
Holy
I would
crap,
say
that's way better.
That is the significant difference between
I like that,
two.
what he said. Yours
was good too.
No. I like what he said.
Okay.
That's good. That's why, right? Very nice. Anyway, Grant, does that help?
Oh, yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
cool.
Have a good one, man. Take care.
You can drop into the Reddit and
too.
quote me and just claim it's yours.
Yeah.
Don't, I'll correct you.
So we have another that, oh my goodness. So, this next caller, Aaron Raw was here yesterday and stayed at my house last night. We were talking about it. When this person called in, goes by Mr. Intelligent Design out of Japan. They called in last week and we were sitting there playing board games and I pulled up on YouTube. I said, Aaron, do you recognize this person? He goes, oh, man. So, Mr. Intelligent Design, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Hi, good morning. Sorry to call you again.
That's
No.
Okay. You just came in really hot. That's all.
Yeah, we invite repeat callers. We like to have constructive conversations. There's an advantage to revisiting things.
So when Mr. Intelligent Design called in before, Jamie, you weren't on.
Yeah.
But he had said that he had discovered intelligence. And when we kind of went in and talked about it, he said, well, atheists don't believe because they don't understand intelligence. And that felt, it came to the point where I was like, well, number one, you're putting words in our mouths. Number two, there is a definition for intelligence, and that's why we're using that definition. But if you want to propose a different one. And so,
hopefully you didn't use
Mr.
that
Intelligent
phrasing.
Design, what do you want to talk about today? I just kind of wanted to bring them up to speed.
Before that, I would like to apologize. Last time we talked, because I should be saying like this: it is much easier for any person to become an atheist by ignorance of the topic of intelligence. That's what I would like to say, but I got a problem with my English, so sorry for that.
That's okay. You're workshopping it.
So I'm not sure how a general statement like that could possibly be sufficiently supported in I can conclude that way, but I think it would also be interesting to consider that there are branches and traditions of Christianity that explicitly say, no, ignorance is a virtue, have a mind like a child, do not learn about the world, and certainly don't think about things. So if you're talking about, in practice, what groups of atheists that organize and state their values and carry out things in a community do versus, there's a very, very, very diverse spectrum of what groups that identify themselves as Christian do, but I'm unaware of a group of atheists that says we should all not know anything or think about anything.
Well, I think you are quoting about the Bible, about to believe in God, one person, must become a child, something like that, like an ignorant child.
It's something like that, like blessed.
Like right?
It's something like that. Jesus talking about how there's a virtue in being a child. I don't know that he says you have to, but because I'm not a biblical scholar. But in any case,
and in the story of Adam and Eve, they were punished because they wanted to know things, right? They ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah. But that's kind of we're off base. Mr.
I think,
Intelligent Design.
For me, the reason why I called you today because you know, as I have told you, and Aaron know that. I always talk to him many times that I am the person who understands intelligence. Sometimes I use the word intentional for other people who didn't get what is intelligence all about.
Okay, so
I know, guys, that you cannot and do not accept that an intentional designer or an intelligent designer exists or God exists because who designed both universe, life, and existence intelligently.
Oh, so that's where he's going.
So just as a quick aside.
So tell us here, what do you really mean by the word intelligence or intentional?
Okay, so,
and why science should accept your definition and not mine?
So what I will say very quickly, because I'm not sure how much, Eric, you want to get into the definition. I'm willing to let you jump at that. As an aside, I would like to say I'm not sure whether you said it and I didn't say it and I just heard it, but at the present moment, no, I don't have a reason, nor do I accept the conclusion that an intelligent designer intentionally created the universe, life, etc. But I think you may have also used the word couldn't or the word wouldn't, and neither of those are true. I'm capable of coming to that conclusion with reasonable evidence, and I wouldn't refuse to if presented reasonable evidence.
Yeah, the reason why I am trying to call you that because we need to explain reality, especially in science.
I agree.
We need to explain reality in science, in astronomy, in biology, and everything we do. But if we don't understand the spectrum between intelligence to non-intelligence, to intentional to non-intentional, then we always have the wrong conclusion of reality, and therefore we are wrong.
Quite possibly.
That's my point.
But Mr. Intelligent Design, let's make sure that when we start, we're starting on the same page here, right? I don't have a competing definition of intelligence that is butting up against yours that we need to present evidence for so that people can accept it, right? I understand the word intelligence just like I understand all of the other words in the English language, which is through use and context and through understanding, through education, and the way that we've been using that and modifying that to best suit our purposes since the advent of language. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is you're saying you have a competing definition. Why do you think that I need to back up everything else? Like, just give us why we should accept that. And if it's compelling and it's good, then maybe we should use your definition. But when you called before, you said answer, solution, and it meant nothing, right? So do you have a different definition? Because what you said last time is gobbledygook. It doesn't provide anything. If we were to take the word intelligence and replace it with what's your definition? Solution, problem, or
no, problem, solution.
Right. So if I were to take that out, if I were to take the word intelligent out of all of the books that we have and replace it with problem, solution, do you understand that that would be incredibly confusing?
No, the reason why you were very confused because I told you last time that I'll be giving you two definitions so that we will know the spectrum of intelligence, or sometimes I call it intentional.
Okay.
So I will give you now two. Okay, please listen. I will give you now two. First, the intentional or intelligence. Intelligence or intentional is always, universally speaking, problem, solution. The shortest definition. And the non-intentional or non-intelligent is always problem, solution.
Okay. What?
So sorry.
I think I said that last time.
No.
What?
Hold on. So in your definitions, it sounds like you're describing two levels of intelligence rather than intelligence and non-intelligence? Is there a part of your definition or an understanding of the concept of intelligence that includes things that have no intelligence, right? In what category does a rock that has no mind fall? Because I would describe that as non-intelligent.
I agree. We agree both with rocks.
Okay, so I wouldn't define a rock as problem solution.
No, in other words, if we would like to study a rock in science, we normally use the word intelligence or intentional in the topic of cause and effect and origins. For example, the origin of the rocks. For example, the origin of Mount Rushmore. There are many mountains in the world.
Yeah, and that's a weird one to pick.
Yeah, so
for example, my example is simple.
No, your example is actually way more weird than if you just said mountain.
So what I will say is I'm unaware of the geological literature specifically referring to Mount Rushmore, but I would be willing to bet that the consensus is not that it was formed in the same way that, Mount Everest or another mountain of its type was formed. As far as the faces.
I agree. I totally agree. That is why in the entire existence, there are two competing origins explanation.
No.
One is intentional and two is non-intentional. Because, for example, the Mount Everest is non-intentional. So therefore,
I agree.
It just happened naturally.
Okay.
But the Mount Rushmore,
So that gets us into the generic argument. Hold on a sec. That gets us into the generic argument. We can talk about how you can tell, something that is intentional from non-intentional, and then you'd have to get to a universe where you say, in this universe, it's non-intentional. In this universe, it is intentional, and then we can study the differences and determine which one our universe is most like. We don't have access to that. That is something that we've done countless times. We're happy to do it countless times more. The real interesting thing here is you skipping over, glossing over, and throwing out red herrings instead of answering the fucking question of what the hell are you talking about with problem, solution, solution. It's the only unique thing in your argument that gives me pause, because the rest we can go rote. But the first thing, it seems like instead of revising and going, oh, hey, people have a problem with this, you just keep saying it. And that's not how shit works.
Oh, I will give you a specific example, Eric. Okay.
Okay, hold on. What I'm going to look for in this response is an answer to my question. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to ask it again, because I don't want to move forward until you answer it.
Oh, wait. Can you repeat again your question? Maybe I didn't get it specifically. Please.
That's not a good sign.
Say it again.
No, that is a sign that you might have just been waiting your turn to talk instead of listening. But I will do it again.
Yeah.
I will say this again. Okay, I'm trying to simplify it.
Say it again.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No. That's okay. We're going to move forward, and the way we're going to move forward is what I said was the unique thing about your argument is that you have this really weird definition of intelligence. And instead of, going into the nuts and bolts so we can determine whether or not that definition is helpful, we've gone off on rabbit trails, and we're not going to do it. I don't want to go off on a rabbit trail until we pin down why you think this bizarre definition is okay. Otherwise, we're just going to talk past each other. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same rote stuff. And the thing that makes this uniquely bonkers is that each time I've seen this brought up and talked about with you, instead of discovering, oh, hey, this appears to be problematic, I'm going to workshop this, you just bring it up again and again and again and again and again. So either you're not listening and waiting your turn to talk, or, whatever the case is. And so, I wrapped that up in, how come you're not giving us the evidence? How come you're not wanting to talk more about these definitions? I don't want more examples of other bullshit. I want to zero in on this. So, Mr. Intelligent Design, right, restating this. Why should we accept that as the definition of intelligence?
Yeah. Or rather, what does that imply as Eric's first.
The reason why all people in the world and our science must accept my definition, because when you apply that definition between intelligence or non-intelligence, they work universally. You can apply that to both physics, astronomy, biology, education.
Stop.
Okay.
Go through each. Give me one short example of physics where intelligence is necessary for physics. Go.
Yeah. Let's talk, for example, about forces.
Okay. How is intelligence necessary for force in physics?
Yeah, simple. For example, we normally use that in engineering. Assuming that you are going to...
Mr. Intelligent Design, just so you know, it sounds like you're chewing gum, and it's really, really weird and awkward to listen to.
You can, yeah.
I'm just trying to make you no.
I just put something in my mouth. Okay.
No worries. I'm just trying to help you, be a better, on the air person. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Physics or in astronomy, or, for example, in physics in forces, assuming that you are going to build a house.
Sure.
Non-intelligence will say that if you would like to build a house, you just build a house.
Okay, stop. Let's examine that. Non-intelligence would say if you want to build a house, you build a house.
Yeah. With
what?
A wrong foundation.
I mean,
with a wrong foundation. Yeah.
That doesn't even make remotely enough. Maybe it's a language thing. Maybe I just don't understand.
Hold on. So is the complete statement that non-intelligence would say you build a house with a wrong foundation?
Yes.
Okay. We were missing the second half of it.
No, we're not. No, I don't accept that, because what does non-intelligence say? That as a statement makes such little sense that I am not moving forward until I understand it. Otherwise, this entire conversation is going to be pointless. And that is at the core the problem. So no, we're not moving forward. How does non-intelligence say anything? What the fuck are you talking about? I love this. I love this because what?
Wait, I told you that non-intelligence is problem solution. Okay.
We remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I told you to just follow my definition, because it's so easy. You don't have to become a rocket scientist to understand it. It's so easy.
Okay, then quit trying to bring up rocket science and give us the easy thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so assuming that you would like to build a house, that is your problem.
Okay.
What if I want to build a house?
Yeah, wait. I told you, just give me a time. I will give you more time. Assuming that your problem is to make a house, no problem. So the solution is to build a house. But the solution is you can build it anywhere. You can build in the sand, you can build in the water, you can build on the solid rock. Okay? So the definition of intelligence is that non-intelligent is that when you build your house and you build it in the shaking sand, then you are using non-intelligence. Because you just use the
hold on. Solution. Now give the example of intelligence in building a house. I think I might be...
Right, that's good. Okay, so now that intelligence is, according to the definition, is problem, solution, and another solution.
Okay. We remember that.
Now, so when you build a house and you are using your mind as an intelligent mind, then you are not just going to build a house as a problem. You are going to choose another solution, for example, a strong foundation. And it's not another solution for a house. So that's why the definition is problem, solution, solution.
So would you say that it's fair to say that intelligence is finding whatever solution you think of first and doing that in order to solve a problem, and intelligence is thinking of multiple solutions and choosing between them the best solution. So the words that I use to describe your definition, I would just say examples of the application of intelligence are probably going to be more helpful when you're explaining this to other people.
That's better explained by saying common sense.
Well,
but no, it is, because you cannot build a house without a thinking mind. You can find a thing that you can use as a whatever, right? We can get into that whole thing. But if we're talking about putting up framework, putting up drywall, painting the shit, putting shingles on the roof, that actually requires a thinking mind. And because of that, you've used so many.
Correct.
Is this the argument from common sense? Use common sense. Quit saying intelligence. You're causing my brain to hurt.
No, the reason why we normally, because we are, our science today is mass. We don't know about the word common sense. We don't know we don't know about the intelligence right now.
We don't know.
So that's why.
Hold on. No. Oh, Matt does that. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
No, hold on. I'm not Matt Dillahunty. We'll move forward. No. Okay, wait.
Quick, I'll guard the hang up button.
Yeah, right.
You're good.
Okay. Mr. Intelligent Design. That's not how language works. Did you get that when you reviewed last time? When you called in, did you go back? Because I listened to every episode several times to make sure that I can go back and correct, because I screw stuff up all the time. Mr. Intelligent Design, did you go back and get the fact that that's not how language works?
And I always go back to what I've said. And
Perfect.
I always,
That's a good practice.
The reason why I'm telling you that I am right, because when you apply my definition in reality, it works, and it is always work.
Okay, then if that's the case, then please take that to a university, get that peer reviewed, get it published, bring it to us instead of calling two jackasses on YouTube. In the meantime,
one jackass on YouTube.
I think last thing, the reason why I just called you, because I already shown this the original manuscript to seven science journals, but they rejected me. But I don't care. I have my science book.
So what I will
anyway, thank you.
No. Before you go, Mr. Intelligent Design, how long is your manuscript? Out of curiosity.
I think how long the word 3,000 words. I think I've used for the explanation, and the abstract is I think 150. But anyway,
so I've got a couple busy weeks coming up, but why don't you send that our way? I can bet a lot of money that Eric is not going to read it. However, I can also put money down that I am.
No, I
need you for shit, Jamie.
I had already written that in my science book to explain further from today.
In your science book.
This week I will make it free in Amazon so that anybody could read it free.
No, this is not a self-plug place.
So what I will say is just send us the link, mail@talkheathen.com. I will find it. If Eric finds it first, he'll send it to me and probably write a message that I won't be able to repeat on the air to me in the email. But
sure.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. If that's all you have to say, then thank you. Sorry.
One more thing. I'm also submitting one of my article. The topic is all about gravity. I just sent to Nature and it failed, and I sent last week to Science and it failed. The topic is all about gravity. I sent you two.
Science is the name of
the publication. Science.
All about gravity.
Yeah. Okay. I will look. If it appears in the publication Science, I'll be unbelievably happy to read that one. But just the manuscript, mail@talkheathen.com. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, then you got to workshop it, buddy.
Yeah.
Be prepared to revise, and don't stick so closely to those conclusions, because the best way you're going to move forward is if you're ready to throw it out, even if it's your baby, because that's how you get to know true things. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
Wow. There were some very interesting and snarky comments in the live chat. I would feel bad for repeating them verbatim, but it was very much about commenting as far as whether our last caller had a high level of problem solution, or whether he was an example of problem solution.
It throws it out, and people have been saying, I've read I read the comments. I don't respond, but that I've been getting more aggressive lately, and
I can rein you in. I've got a foot and you've got a shin. No,
I don't know. There's a catharsis there, but I don't want the point to be missed because of some righteous indignation, because that's not okay. Well, so I'm going to need you to help me out here, Jamie.
I'll help you out. But before we go to the next caller, what I will say is, even when, because someone commented, JB's patience is legendary, which is kind of cool.
It is.
But there are times where I feel bad for not being more outraged. For example, when Rob begins talking about justifications for this and that.
But that's what we're a team for.
Well, that's what we're a team for, but it should definitely be something that I probably state more forcefully, at the very least.
We'll be there for each other. We're gonna keep getting better as a show. We're gonna keep making better content for you guys.
Yeah. Although I was reminded that I should save that for secular sexuality, which is one of the 8 sister shows that our show has, and you should check them out.
In the meantime, we have 5 more calls, so we need to jump into them. Before we take actually more calls, I want to hop onto Patreon because I didn't announce it, and it's already. But we thank our top 5 patrons every single episode. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me, and we're gonna thank our top 5 patrons right now. That's Neil, Nando, Austin, Lynette, and Joe Roll. You are our top 5 patrons, and we really, really appreciate it. It's those donations that let us do like what we did yesterday. Go get amazing people together.
Yes.
Create an event for all these amazing people in the live studio audience to come and see.
I was going to say, I don't know, how amazing was yesterday, guys? Let's let them know what they're donating for. Yes.
And it helps us support more content being created so that we can get more voices out there, right? The other shows that we're creating are there for a reason because there's a need. Nobody's turning their TV off going, damn it, there's too much atheist content. I just,
Another broadcast channel of solely atheist content. Oh, it's gone too far.
Yeah, so let's get it all out there. Let's create competition so that everything gets better. A rising tide lifts all boats, and I love it. So, moving forward, Jamie, did you have a suggestion, or can I take the next one?
Yeah, you can take the next one.
All right. So I want to move on to George in Toronto. George, you're talking to Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Hello, Eric. Hello, Jamie.
Hello.
Hello.
First time, long time.
What would you like to talk about today?
So, to the most patient person on the call, I really need some help with social events with my relatives. Due to my genetic luck, I managed to be related to some really horrible people. And it comes out, in discussions and such, all the top 10 great hits, with the homosexuality,
sorry to hear that.
Current Republicans and current politicians and religion and religious morality and yesterday, like I almost lost it. I felt like my face was burning and I was about to go on a 5-minute cussing tangent.
Yeah, I see so many nodding heads in the audience right now.
Yeah,
you
are not alone.
And I share.
I'm good, but sorry.
But I don't. Is it time for me to just sign off or?
So what I will say is, if you need either to put a barrier between, or you need space from something that is causing you psychological distress, or a person or persons that are not respectful, you're justified in doing that. It doesn't really matter who that person is. You are justified in taking care of yourself, if that is what is necessary. I can't say that I'm sufficiently familiar with your exact situation to say, oh yeah, definitely, it should have been done a long time ago. That's a judgment that you'll have to make. But if it really is weighing on you day in and day out, at the very least, it's weighing on you to the point where you call our show, then it's definitely a serious problem that needs to be addressed.
And I think Jamie hit it. Jamie, you hit it perfectly. George, it's not. There's not a definitive line that you can go, okay, and I am justifiably done. Anybody can draw that line where they feel comfortable. It's about your happiness. It's about your ability to entertain those things. It's about your comfortability with having those conversations. Is this with family?
Yeah, I think you said with family.
Yeah, no, we were in a social gathering together, and they start talking about, take for example, the shooting in Christchurch.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, this guy was crazy. And I'm like, no, this guy wasn't crazy. He was a terrorist.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, and I swear to you that I'm not making this up, and he goes, yeah, but was he Muslim? And I'm like,
does it matter?
Really?
It's not. I mean, these are just some of the digs. And, you know, like...
Yeah. So George, you have the right to choose your level of engagement.
Yep.
And if you need, you know, that extra push, if you're hoping that we're going to say, yeah, go ahead, leave it, dude. And if you're looking for us to say, no, stick it in, you know,
yeah,
stick in there, man. You can do it. That other one that I said sounded real bad. Don't take that out of context. Okay.
Sorry, George. Eric almost said, "Yeah, stick it in there."
Yeah.
You can
stick in there. You can
stick it out if that's your strength.
Stick it out. That's the right way to say it.
And if you need to distance yourself, you can. And in either way, we are here as much as we can to.
And we support you. That sounds real shitty. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, thank you guys, and in a way, I want to stick it in because maybe I'll tip in someone.
Stick it in.
They'll see the light, but it is hard. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to vent. I'll let you
of course. Anytime you can. We have online communities are good for that. Also, the Reddit would be all over that. The Facebook, ACA Productions, the Reddit, r/talkheathen. We have an email. And what I will say is thank you, because I always love a double entendre joke. So.
I know this is a serious topic. I'm sorry. But you said it's hard, and I think half of our audience died. I'm a child. I'm 12. I'm 12 years old.
And so what I will say is,
let's move forward.
If it helps, you have touched the funny bones of people here.
Yeah.
So thank you for touching their bones by saying it's hard.
No, I'm all about touching bones. You know, it's what gets me through the day. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Take care, buddy.
I couldn't think of a follow-up.
I'm a 12-year-old.
There it is. Yeah, see, feel better. Yeah.
Aww.
Sometimes humor is
especially when you're dealing with talking about ending relationships because it's just unbearable to see ignorance. I get it. We do hope things get better for you. But for you and for everybody else listening who's looking at making that tough choice, it's not something, you know, I was talking to someone I deeply care about, so I'm not going to say their name, but they were worried about being a good skeptic. And it's like, there's not a perfect definition, and there's not an expectation that you need to suffer in order to be considered a good skeptic. You know, the amount that you are willing to, you know, have those conversations is subjective. It's up to you, and that's okay, because that's what people like Jamie and I are here for.
Yeah.
You know, use us as punching bags. Tell them to call us if you don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah. Tell your dad to call.
Yeah. But let's move on to...
For a split second, I thought you were talking about me, because we've had many discussions about being a good skeptic, and I was like, wow, bold move, my friend.
No.
But no. Okay.
David in Arkansas, you're talking to Eric and Jamie. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. First off, I want to say to George in Toronto, hang in there. In order for all parties to be happy, it's got to be hard to stick it in.
David, you're already wonderful.
Yes.
But
you win. You win the first comment out of a caller being perfect award.
But that said, he doesn't have to hang in there if it's causing him pain, and you know
it is like, up to him whether or not he sticks it in.
Now,
whether it's hard or not, it
says in the comment. It says
up to him and them.
It says that you're actually a religious caller, which makes that even better. David,
this is what?
In the notes it says that you are theist. You have a religious viewpoint.
Yeah, that's, and I'm not sure how much I want to touch on that today.
Well, it depends. Let's get to the topic. What do you want to talk about?
The topic I want to get at is I want to eat crow. I called you all on December 30th of last year, and I was pretty upset because I had seen some episodes where you all were ripping up Bibles, and I thought you all were not respectful to people with other views. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah. So it's certainly an episode that would be incendiary, and there are people that I know where afterwards I sort of went, yeah, I know that they watch my show and listen to it occasionally. I'm going to give them a heads up of what they're going to see.
Yeah, and I think that in that episode, I recall that if I were to have reached that place again, there are more things than I can say other than I'm making it better by ripping stuff out. It was very fun to do, but there's more to it. You know, I would try to say
we had a very good conversation, and I ended up coming away appreciating y'all, but also after 3 months now of watching even more and listening to y'all even more, I can understand why you can get so incendiary, because I get the same way, and I do consider myself a theist, albeit a very liberal and getting away from that kind of theist because of people like ID in Japan and a couple others that I'm not going to name.
You know what's funny, David, is those people find us and they call us, and then we get accused of, you know, very selectively picking the weakest in the herd. They're the only ones who call, right? I mean, this is an opportunity for like an experienced apologist to call in and have it out, and we would take that call and we would give them precedence. We'd take them first, but they don't do it. It drives me. So we take what we have.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Experienced apologist calling you out. What's up? Yeah. Call us.
So, like I said, I didn't want to apologize because I didn't understand where we all are coming from.
But here's the difference: is you stuck around and you learned where we're coming from, and that is something that you should be lauded for. Because a lot of people don't. They go, "Oh, it's an idea or a position that I don't like." Done. And I'm glad that you overcame that. And to your point, we know activists that will say, Ken Ham deconverted me. Basically, is an activist that we know says that because it's true. So you're not alone in these other guys that are talking about.
But what did you want to say?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I have a question. So I do have people. I'm probably like most of us. I mean, if you present me with evidence, I'm going to change my mind. Some people are not willing to, and I know a lot of people are not willing to. And I let all kinds of people in my house. Lately, I've been talking to Mormons, and I don't agree with virtually anything about their viewpoints, but I'm willing to talk to them. But the problem is, for instance, they really upset me yesterday. My grandfather died about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I'm grieving. I mean, if he's in a better place, great, but that doesn't keep him here. So, And I've also got an uncle in the hospital, and I've got the Mormons wanted me to go to church with them this morning. And I said, no, I need to be at home. I need to be free to talk and move about, because if I get an update, I need to be able to answer my phone. And they very sincerely said, do you think God would let you miss an important call and would let someone call during church?
God lets all kinds of shit happen.
Do they think that a phone has never gone off in a church service? Sorry, you can continue.
Of course, we've got free will. I said, are you saying he would not let them? And they said, yeah, he wouldn't let them. And I said, so he can control that much. Then why did he let my grandfather die? Why did he let this happen and this happen and this happen and this happen? And they couldn't answer me.
I'm not surprised.
It made me so mad.
It's the problem of evil is the way that argument is stated. How can evil exist in a world with a loving, all-powerful God? You can take out all the other omnis and just with loving and all-powerful, you get there. Yeah. Now, David, I do want to lead by example and say that I don't want to use this heart-wrenching event to try and convince you, of something that you should be convinced. You should have these conversations when you're damn well ready and not a minute beforehand. So I just want to make sure we're not leaking into that territory, because I want you to get there for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've been exploring my beliefs for a long time. I still believe there is some form of a God, although he's diminished in capacity and capability as I've gotten older. I don't believe that you can have an all-powerful God, yet we have free will. That does not mesh. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
In the process, it makes sense to me in that I remember being in that place.
Okay,
But over time,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Over time, for me, maybe your experience can be very different, but I'm just going to share mine a little bit. Mine became more and more nihilistic. And part of the reason it became so nihilistic is because I was coming to these, oh my goodness, hey, just because I want it to be true doesn't mean it is true. Hey, what evidence do I have for these things? And I didn't really have a lot. I wound up kind of in this empty place, right? This state of anomie, when it came to morality and ethics, and this state of aporia, this dread, this uncomfortable feeling of not knowing. And I hadn't really explored the other side of it. And the other side of it is, being a good human, the way we treat each other, creating purpose for ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
And then moving on with that and wanting to make a better world for the next generation. It doesn't matter if there's a grand purpose. I want my kids to have a good life, and I want their kids to have a better one. I want to eliminate disease and pain and suffering. And when we don't see that those deities stepping in to solve the problem, then we realize that humans' hands solve human problems. Yeah. And that's really cool. That's actually something that kind of fills you up. Yeah. And so if you hadn't heard it before, there is something to be excited about. I promise. Anytime along that way, even if it seems that there's no God at all, the world that we're making for each other is a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
And I've been thinking, for instance, about someone said they have a purpose in life, and I looked up the definition, and it essentially, from what I read, insists on a creator. And I'm like, I don't know that we have a purpose, but I think we can find meaning. I think the better question is, how do we want our lives defined?
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, how about this? What if, when you say we don't have purpose, what if that's actually a misapplied kind of thing? Because what if the idea that there's some grand purpose applied to you from the outside doesn't even make sense? If there's no guarantor on the outside to give you that purpose, then it's almost like creating a problem that doesn't exist, isn't it? And if that's the case, then we're really kind of we're having phantom limb syndrome for a limb that we never actually had.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. These are all things that helped me. I'm just trying to jump in and kind of give you a little bit of what's helped.
And like I said, I'm kind of, I'm on my journey. I don't want to, I'm not making rash decisions. I don't think that one can. Logically, some can, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, just because I don't see a God in this instance, or let's say I see a God, I'm not going to make a decision either way because of what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
That's good.
And perfectly understandable.
Yeah, and to be clear, like Eric said, we're not trying to say, oh yeah, well look at your life, make a decision based on that, because you shouldn't use emotions to evaluate logical, questions of facts that should be evaluated through logic, right? In the same way that I think that any religious person, although I see it most from Christians, shouldn't go to grieving people and say, see, isn't this a good reason to come to church?
Right.
And a good reason to believe in God. It's certainly a good reason to find comfort wherever you find it.
Well, and it feels like a nice sell too. You know, oh, you know, you're going to miss them.
Yeah.
Well, no, you'll get to see them again. I mean, what you're talking about going with Mormons
let me make
back,
the most amazing promise possible.
not being and never really have to fulfill on it.
It matters
but
whether
for
they can-
atheists, I mean, what's our trifold, right? What are we gonna knock knock? You know, here you go. It's a blank piece of paper. Like, what do we? So, Aaron, I saw you.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
That reminds me. So, closing. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but what should I do about the Mormons? That I mean, here's the thing. I like their company.
Yeah.
They seem genuine, and they seem to be genuinely caring.
Mm-hmm.
But we clearly, the thing is, I don't want to just annihilate them with facts because I don't know that they can handle it.
You know, actually, they're trained to turn it off. But here's a great thing that you can do. Be the person that just called this show. What you've just said was absolutely from the heart. Say, hey, I'm in a place of mourning and it hurts. And because of that hurt, I feel like you're kind of predating on my emotional state right now. I think you're a wonderful person, and I don't think you're doing it intentionally. But it's really not, I'm not in an emotional place where I'm ready to tackle that. I don't want you to go away, but I also need you to tone back because it hurts and it's hurtful. Generally, when you approach those kinds of things, when you're dealing with honest people, they're usually really understanding. And when they're not, you've got a good reason to tell them to fuck off.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I wanted, if y'all have not, y'all need to check out an episode of Brain Games called The God Mind. It's kind of interesting. It shows that atheists and theists have some things in common, and I kind of wonder.
I hope we have things in common.
What things on that are about.
Yeah, well, I'll check it out. I am furiously studying for this debate with David Wood coming up.
Yeah.
But
and I'm going to be reading a 3,000 word
manifesto. You set yourself up, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I said
David,
I've got busy
we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Scholar.
Also, David, call back. Let us know how it goes.
Hey,
you know?
thank you. Take care, brother.
I sure will.
Yeah. Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye.
That was, wow, that was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I'm not a prophet, but I think I see the future.
Maybe. Let's move on to John in Ohio. John, you're talking to Eric and Jamie. What would you like to talk about today?
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, hi, guys.
All right. What did you want to talk about today, John?
I think I just experienced a glitch in the Matrix.
Careful. That's a conspiracy theory that's popular.
Go ahead, brother.
I was a little bit nervous when I first called, but after hearing some of the callers, I'm feeling much more confident.
What did you want to ask?
Anyway, I'd like to talk about the atheist juggernaut, which is, I believe, is consciousness and the brain.
Why?
I think that consciousness is produced by the brain, and that if that's true, that would basically brush aside all of the apologetic arguments, the ontological argument, the teleological argument. All that stuff would be brushed aside if consciousness is produced by the brain.
No, unfortunately. I wish it was that way.
So if you're saying that, hold on, let me just clarify because I think I know where you're coming from. If you are saying, and I know a way that Eric would get it right away. If you are saying that consciousness depends on a brain or some other physical entity to create it, it doesn't exist independently of that. That premise, if accepted, would negate an argument for the creation of the universe that had a mind or consciousness existing outside of a physical object.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would say is that in arguments and debates, it's going to be probably very difficult to get to that point. Certainly there are calls with Matt where that that works out well, but or for reason.
And I mean, you're not wrong. The problem is we meet people where they're at, and getting someone to accept that premise that that consciousness is an emergent property of having a brain that's functioning, it's so difficult. And because of that, we have to meet them where they're at, and a lot of times they won't accept it. And the good news is that all of these other arguments can be addressed in different ways, but we try and use the tactic that we think is best suited. So if someone wants to talk about intelligence and consciousness, then we can absolutely go there. But if they want to, go with some other kind of proof, or they want to share their personal experience, or they want to say that, oh, well, magic exists and I'm a magician, or whatever the case is, we just kind of have to meet them where they're at. Tactic sounds like I'm trying to do something wrong. No, we're trying to use whatever's appropriate to be able to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. If you look at consciousness, and you can separate it into its individual elements. Like, for example, I could ask you, how is it that you know that you're conscious? And first of all, right off the bat, you could point to the five senses. But those all have physical locations within the brain.
The physical locations that can be tweaked or altered.
Well, that and the brain is more complicated than that. So it's not just, this is the neuron that does math, and that's, it's not very good. And this is the neuron that reads, it's okay. That just commenting on my personal ability to interact with the world. But the brain works together, all of the parts, right?
I mean, it sounds like you're saying cogito ergo sum. Is that?
I think that's where I am. Yeah.
Maybe I'm skipping forward.
Well, I think he's saying...
I don't know about that. All I'm saying is that all of the brain regions have been mapped, and they all correlate to a specific function. And if you look at the specific...
More or less.
Specific elements of consciousness, you can say anything that would constitute consciousness has a specific location in the brain.
Yeah.
Anything that you can, like I said before, the five senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, they all have specific locations within the brain.
And many other senses that we haven't. I mean,
so there's competing sense theories, but your point is
my point is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah. I get it, and the reason I'm so cut and dry is because, and you're saying this in a very nice way, but in my experience, I've gotten emails of people saying, "Oh no, I have a magic bullet. All we need to do is explain this," and then everything else will dissolve. I wish we lived there, but it's never that simple.
Well, so what I will say is, I don't think it's a magic bullet, or necessarily, I
mean, it's so helpful. If he's right, if they knew.
To be clear, to a person who's open to thinking about these things and thinking about the definition of consciousness, who's saying, yeah, I'm not really sure, but I heard this teleological argument and it seemed convincing, or I went on whatever... there's another apologist, but I'm not sure I want to plug his stuff right now. And, this seems like it's logical. What do you think about this? Explaining actually, consciousness appears with a significant amount of evidence that's conclusive to be a product of the brain, a physical object.
Right.
But, and I think that's a very good argument, but I wouldn't... bring it up if a person is trying to tell me that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Well, but
necessarily.
All of these religious arguments, all of the apologetic arguments are philosophical in nature. So if we can establish that consciousness is produced by the brain, that is an empirical argument.
But then they'll argue with you whether or not empiricism is something you should be using.
Yeah.
It's
if they're direct.
It is that wacky, dude.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I love the gumption. Keep doing it, but don't make that a stopping point. You're right. people are complex and they're not reasonable and they're not logical, and we just have to try and build what we can with what we have.
See, I always go with the scientific route because
well, yeah, of course you do. That's awesome.
You can prove anything with philosophy. Just about.
Well, philosophers might do. But anyway, this is a rabbit hole, and we have only so much time.
And
but
you know what's a good place
agree.
for rabbit holes? r/talkheathen. If you are a Redditor or okay with becoming one, even just for this, discussions of which arguments about apologetics, that is a perfect place for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have one more, 30 seconds for one more statement from me?
If it's something we can address or talk, we usually do questions. But otherwise, yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Yeah, go.
Okay. All right. Sure.
I'm timing you. Go.
There are certain statements which are either true or false. Now, this doesn't apply to every statement, but there are certain ones which are true or false. I would point you to Mark 16, verses 17 through 18, where it says that one of the things it says is that those who believe shall be able to drink poison and it will not hurt them.
Yeah.
So that statement is either true or false. Now, we can argue whether it's figurative or metaphorical, but the way it's written sounds very direct.
It's a very, very much a factual claim.
Yes.
Right.
That said, they will argue with you until the ends of the earth, saying that it's a translation error. It's something that was added on later. It was an analogy. It was an allegory. It was. It's just the way it is.
I mean,
anyway,
to be fair, it was added later, but it's also a very bad idea. Don't do it. No.
Yeah. These are all things that we've absolutely seen and tried and used and found out very, very quickly and disappointingly that people are not rational.
Yeah.
Anyway, take care, man. Have a good one.
See you on Reddit.
Did you know that since you started plugging the Reddit, it has been way more active?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been picking up like crazy. And you've been in the Reddit.
Yeah, I've showed up a couple of times. I think there are a couple of comments I left and that my username isn't my name, and I was trying to go back and forth on whether I should sign them or just be another person in the Reddit.
I think we should be open as who we are. That way people know that they're actually interacting with the hosts.
Yeah, because one of them was, I don't like it when the hosts do this. And if they don't know that I'm one of the hosts, that would be really weird.
Well, you know what, especially because I try to respond by saying, you know what, I took a look at it and, I think you're right. Or, here's what I was thinking at the time. And people are usually really open when they go, oh, hey, crap, I'm actually talking to that person. Yeah. But we have so much time. Let's move on to, let's go with Jay in Montana. Stephen, we're going to end with you. Stay on the line. And actually, Jay.
Don't touch that dial.
So are you there?
Jay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi,
okay,
you're on with Eric and Jamie.
Yes, before we jump in.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good. And
I'm short on time.
And I'm feeling kind of frisky. I think that we should start stripping for likes. What do you think, Jamie?
I think that if you would like to point out that there are 1,110 people there and we have 232 likes, that people should like and subscribe if they're not already, and hit that bell if they want notifications.
I think for every 100 likes, one of us should take a piece of clothing off. Because I'm a whore.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think I might have a very different idea of what one of us means in that sentence.
Oh, I'm putting you on pressure. Let's do it.
Put me on blast.
And now we're incentivized to close the show fast. Jay, what would you like to talk about?
It's a race against time.
All right, so the big thing right now. My father passed away about 3 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I know that you guys, thank you. I know that you guys have been talking to people about finding counselors, finding therapy, and you have mentioned a couple of websites.
Yes.
The problem is that, going to those websites, you don't always find someone, like Montana, we're pretty rural up here.
Just got 100
You don't always find...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You don't always find someone up here that is not religious when you're just trying to find a secular person to talk to. I've been going to a couple of grief counselors and I've been asked some very awkward questions repeatedly, like, where is your father now? What is happening to him? And
just things along those lines. So is it appropriate to go to a counselor or anyone? I mean, just you're looking for like a counselor, a therapist, or someone. Is it appropriate to go to them and actually ask questions about their religion, about their viewpoint?
I would say it might be more to the point to say, listen, I'm not religious. If your counseling is religious, please tell me now, because it will cause me to find another counselor.
Yeah.
Because there are people that are counselors that believe in a God and don't use their profession as a means of proselytization.
Yeah.
Proselytization.
I'm not sure if they were proselytizing, but it was still very awkward. You know, where's your father? And all right, so one of them even asked me, so how do you explain like near-death experiences, visions, things like that? And
I hope you weren't paying for that. I hope you weren't paying them for their time to.
Oh no! Thank goodness my insurance covered that.
Well,
Thank you, Obamacare, for that.
I have never felt uncomfortable about Obamacare paying for therapy any more than I've.
So what you're saying is, not only do you work for the ACA, there's another. Never mind.
Yeah. So Jay, what I want to kind of share here is I go to a therapist. I'm going to my therapist tomorrow. I highly suggest everybody do. And therapists know. Yeah. And actually they know that fit that you have with them is crucial to you being able to move forward. You know, in cognitive behavioral therapy, if you're holding things back, if you feel uncomfortable about sharing something, then it's really, you know, it's impossible to get to the heart of things if you're not willing to go there with that person. And it is shallow. It can be shallow for a ton of reasons, but it's understandable. Maybe you don't have, maybe you're not comfortable sharing with something with them because of their gender or their age, or, you know, a myriad other reasons that I have seen and talked to therapists about, and they go, yeah, you know what? They came in and they really have found that they don't feel comfortable talking to an older man, and so they're looking for somebody who's not that, so that they can talk. And good therapists are totally understanding. You know, that's why we need to have so many different therapists, so that we can kind of meet those needs. It doesn't seem nice, but it's kind of the first therapy session for a lot of people is almost like a first date, where you're finding out whether or not you match, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, believe me, it's been very awkward.
It sounds like a first date.
Yeah, but it's necessary. So
the secular therapy project is a good thing. It may not have as many resources in your state. I don't know that recovering from religion has broad programs. I'm also kind of curious what professional standards there are for therapy, if any, that can...
I don't know. Just, again, you guys were like the secular, The
Secular Therapy Project.
Yeah.
Which I have
found. That was something that you guys have mentioned. So I was kind of looking into that. But again, in Montana, that's a bit more rare. Again, we're a huge state, and we have only 1 million people in the whole state. So
yeah. But a lot of therapists are happy to do an appointment over the phone or via Skype, and it's actually come to my attention that we need more therapists in the Secular Therapy Project. There are some places where it's sparse, or they don't take all of everybody's insurances. We need more people in it. Jay, I'm just going to kind of use this as a call to action. If you are a therapist, they don't out you. You're not put on a public list, so don't worry about getting blacklisted in your community. They are very careful with your information and trying to put you together with somebody that you can help. Please, please consider becoming part of the Secular Therapy Project. They really do vet their therapists, and it's needed.
Yeah, when you said that, I realized, wait a minute, I know a licensed therapist, and 99% sure they're not a part of the project. So that's going to be the next conversation I have with them. But
Yeah, well, actually, I know of a therapist who told me about how rigorous the process actually was, and that gave me a lot of confidence. They were like, "Holy crap! I thought it was going to be, easy." and nope.
Do you believe in a God? No. I'm holding this Bible. Are you happy or sad?
No, they go into different therapies and processes and all of these different frameworks to make sure that we're using evidence-based. Evidence-based therapies. I was trying to find a different word so I don't repeat, but whatever.
Okay.
Jay, yes, this was a really, really long answer to a really, really basic question. Is it okay to ask about religiosity? Yes.
Yeah, that's my big thing. And for people like me that are trying to figure this out, because I know there are other people out there that are having trouble dealing with like grief.
Yeah.
So.
It's like a first date. And if you come across a therapist who's angry and offended, awesome. You definitely don't want to go to that one.
Yeah. You don't have to go on a second date.
Yeah, you're good. But stick in there.
And do I have just one more thing? If not, just Jamie said something last week that kind of got under my skin.
I'm probably sorry about that, but I don't know what it was.
What's up? I want to know.
Well, all right. So I am a science teacher, and I'm sorry, but about 25 minutes in, you said that our education system is failing everyone, and skepticism and critical thinking are not really taught.
That statement is almost certainly overbroad.
Sorry.
And
yeah. So I want to make sure. I've listened to it a few times. I want to make sure that I was not overreaching, that I was not taking anything out of nuance, but I want to make sure that. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to let you finish, but and I'm not going to say anything about Beyonce. But what I will say is, yeah, I definitely made a statement that broad. I don't have to watch back the episode to know that I almost certainly said something about that, because it's a statement about policy, and I make those statements
way too much.
I was going to say too simply to address it. So at the very least, let me correct this and say there are millions of fantastic teachers out there that help students. I've certainly had a whole bunch of them, and that to any degree that you can criticize the American education system, the most faults will be found in administering it and how children are enrolled in which schools and which children have their schools closed. So I don't mean to fault teachers, and I'm almost certain that I said something about curriculum where, critical thinking isn't taught. I don't know exactly what your response is going to be, but probably it is in many cases. I don't know specifically.
Actually, I'm sorry, as an educator, it's not just on the education system.
Right.
As an educator, I cannot sit down with 120 students a day, hold their hand and write out their notes for them. And I cannot, I've mailed out worksheets to parents and not getting them back. So it kind of just comes down to, it's not the education system entirely. It goes all the way down from students to parents to teachers to the highest secretary of the education right now. And I know you guys are a
501c3 or
yeah. So I'm not going to mention anyone's names.
Thank you.
But up to
you can actually.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about elections. So you're fair to name the Secretary of Miseducation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Betsy DeVos. You need someone in there that's actually been an educator, not someone that is in there for their personal gain. So
yeah.
I kind of want to just jump in a little bit because I've worked in public schools for years and years.
You know more than I do.
K through 12. And in my experience, Jay, you're right. I do want to lay blame at the, a good amount of blame at the feet of those teachers who want their religious beliefs to come ahead of the education of their students. Because at least where I lived, that happened a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that we as a society are failing children when we don't address it. Now, that is not the case everywhere. And
I'm sorry, I do agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that the more we support those things as a society, because societally we have so many other things that we're facing, and we're ignoring the needs of a not just comprehensive education, but a relationship with education. It's the way that we view teachers. It's the way that we view parental responsibility. It's the way that we as a society want to raise that child, because it takes a community. And all of those pieces need to come together, and we need to own it.
Yeah.
And so...
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say, is that it's not just on one system, it's on everyone.
Yeah.
It is, and we're fucking up. Because we have high expectations.
Yeah.
You know? Well, it's not that we're not doing well in a lot of places, it's that our expectations are so high, and I want to keep them there, that we're going to keep pushing forward. And it's not because... it's not for lack of trying. You know, we're going to get there, brother.
I mean, to be clear, literacy rates are, good. As I haven't checked them recently. We had a presidential election. That means I probably should. But there are successes in education. To clarify, when I think about what teachers are paid and what laws exist that either allow or disallow the training and recruitment of teachers and encourage that kind of thinking. I may be overly broad when I just say the education system, but I think of that as part of it.
Yep.
But certainly outside that, our culture around education of like, oh, teachers are, basically more expensive daycare centers is a thought that people have, which is...
And they get 3 months off for vacation. That's not
Which
true,
is ridiculous.
Which is, okay, so it's not... vacation. You have to work. No. Curriculums don't grow on trees.
No, I working in schools, I know exactly how hard you work. And
again, I am sorry. I am sorry. I did not mean for this to take that much time. I wanted to.
It's important.
Voice opinion. That was all.
Yeah, and that's how we get better. We need to admit when we overstep, and we need to find those places where we're wrong, because holy shit, I want to be right, and Jimmy does too.
Yeah.
So,
and thank you for using the royal we instead of just naming me.
I screw up all the time.
Well, yes, but in this instance, this is on me. Thank you. Yeah, if you hadn't called in, the clarification wouldn't have been there. There would have just been an incendiary statement by me on the air without sufficient context. So
cheers. Thank you for making us better.
I hope I wasn't rude about it.
No,
you're good. You're good.
Fantastic.
Right. Take care, brother.
Thank you. You guys have a great day. Goodbye.
You too.
All right, let's get to our last caller. Our last caller is Stephen in Kansas. Stephen, what would you like to talk to us about today?
Well, first, I just want to say hi, Jamie, and hi, Eric.
Hi, Stephen.
I've been listening to you guys for a few months now, and this is something that I've been kind of debating on with myself for 2 years, basically since I became an atheist. There's a few people that I have not told at all. One of them is my old youth pastor, who I have known for basically my entire adult life. I don't know how to tell him that I'm an atheist, or if I should tell him I'm an atheist. We don't talk about religion, really. Mainly when we talk, we're talking about, 80s horror movies and stuff. So I don't know what you guys would think about that.
I would ask what the there isn't a weird way. There isn't a better phrasing for this that I know, but what is the benefit specifically for you telling him this? Like, if you say that you've known him your entire life and that he was your youth pastor, is your hesitation to telling him that you don't know a very good way of doing it, or is your hesitation that you don't want to hurt this person that you've known your entire life? Or something else?
Yeah, I feel like if I told him, he would, he'd probably be hurt. And if he wasn't, then that's great, obviously. But like recently, I actually just came out on my Facebook as an atheist to a lot of people, and the majority of my friends on there are Christians.
Same.
And they're people that I went to church with. And I even asked a few of them, did you see this? And they were saying things like, yeah. And they were all, for the most part, they were good. They were okay with it. A lot of them said that it was sad that I was an atheist. which kind of took me aback. I was just like, okay, I don't know why that's sad to you, but all right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just that that's the language they've been given to express disappointment about that sort of thing. I mean, really, it can be rough, but if this is a person you've known your entire life and you have a good idea of whether or not they're going to disown, or if you have a good idea of what the response is going to be, and it's something that you find is important and that you want people that are in your life and that you care about deeply to know about, then if this person is a person that's in your life and that you care about deeply and you want them to know about it, I would say that that's certainly sufficient reason to do what you're doing, which is think about and find the best way of telling them something that is important about your life, right? In the same way that when people come to terms with, coming out as gay, they feel like, I should tell the people in my life, and usually it comes down to, oh, but should I tell, grandma, who I'm not sure is going to understand? And in those situations, it's an evaluation of, yes, this is a tricky conversation to have, but I think that it will improve relations, or at least it will let someone that I care about, that I love, know something more about me. And if that's your goal, I would have to encourage you to think along those lines. Obviously, I don't know your former youth pastor, so I can't evaluate what their response would be, and only you can come to the conclusion for you. But you're doing the right thing, and I think probably slowly in pieces is better, and to not make it appear as though you're a completely different person now, right? It's not like you're born again and you're going to do everything differently. You're not giving up foods or taking on. And you're just as empathetic or whatever, but as you always were. You're not evil. You're not trying to tear anybody down. You're not worshiping a devil. You're not like us. You're not. Anyway, that you're still the kind, loving, caring human being that they've known before. It's just this is different. Jimmy, you handled that really, really well. Thank you. I don't think I have anything to add, but I hope things work out for you, and let us know.
All right. If I do tell him, I might actually be seeing him not this weekend, but next weekend. Yeah. Since he is going to be in my my town, and that's really why I decided to call about it, was because I thought, okay, well, if I do see him, then I might tell him. Don't make it too dramatic. Don't. Yeah. I need to sit you down and tell you something because you're setting an expectation for it.
The conversations where you sit
I'll get on a stage and I'll have a bowl in my hand.
Right? I am an atheist.
Get someone to MC it. Now welcoming an atheist.
Well, and if you think that he has all of that, and if you think that he has all of that baggage about atheists, then start with I don't believe, and then help him get through to understand what that means, because last thing you want to do is have to take on baggage that you have to break down after the fact. So. Take care, brother, and good luck to you.
Yeah, and call back. Let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Stephen.
So I did not have to take off more clothes, but I saw friends in the audience who I always love their company, so I wanted to bring them in for when we close out.
Oh, what friend or friends are those?
Well, we have one Aaron Raw here. Aaron, you want to come sit down?
Woo!
Hey. Dude, I'm glad you made it.
Oh, I always have a good time. I come down to Austin every time I can get an excuse.
Dude. So, I just want to say how glad I am to have had this weekend come by, to be able to speak, to be able to meet all these amazing people in the live studio audience. Hey, everybody.
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah,
and to that degree, well, because I don't want to cut you off because I'm here.
If you don't believe, let's get love rings up. Yeah. Do you remember our sign?
Yeah. So before we get to that,
no, I don't.
We say if you don't believe, you have community here. This is where you belong, something like that. And then we end. We say to the
yes, but before you say that, the green circles don't, because they're going to cut it as soon as you said that.
No, they won't. They won't. All
right. Because
we say we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong.
Yeah.
So if we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. So
I think an important point to bring up, if I may, is that most of the outspoken atheist advocates, activists, and so forth, most of the loudest ones, it's kind of like, ex-smokers are the most outspoken against smoking. Well, the same thing goes on with people that rebel against religion, right?
Yeah.
So the best atheist activists we have were all former believers. So, and they were all devout.
Yeah.
In most cases, they were very devout people. So any Christian you might be talking to could be the next Matt Dillahunty.
Sure.
So bear that in
Or
mind.
Aaron Ra.
Well, only if you're talking to a former pagan.
You know, I was going to say there's only one Aaron Ra, but
True enough. True enough. True enough.
No.
All right. So let's do this right. Oh,
yeah. So what I will say is that the green circle is the symbol of Atheist Day and coming out, but Atheist Day shouldn't be a single day. I mean, it's why I'm wearing this wristband. It's actually the reason I went out and got this tie. You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to find a green tie.
Just after St. Patrick's Day?
No. No. It is actually difficult. Think about it. When was the last time you saw anyone that wasn't me wear a green tie?
I own a green tie.
They're weird. Well, then you should have told me that, and I wouldn't have had to gone to 3.5 stores.
You could have asked, Jamie.
Well, because I just assume that
we'll
you don't have ties. Because I'm familiar with the rest of the rest of your wardrobe and what you choose to wear. So what I will say is, while March 23rd is International Atheist Day, a day for atheists to come out, stand together, and stand in solidarity, that doesn't mean that March 24th isn't the beginning of a period of time where you should be atheist every day. And that's why I used that hashtag earlier.
Cheers. So
yeah, and let people know that we don't hate them. We
hold on.
Just think they're wrong.
No. For those who don't believe, we love you, and this is your community, and you belong here.
Yes.
And it's going to be okay, and we're making a better world.
You belong everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
And for those who do believe, now here's the part where we say, we don't hate you.
We don't hate you.
You ready?
You're wrong.
For those who do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong.
Disagree. Wait, what?
But I just told you, dude. Oh my gosh, I'm never. Okay.
Every time.